So let's talk about anxiety and its connection to emotional eating, because they can be very interconnected. So if you're new here, welcome. My name is Michelle. I'm a certified holistic nutritionist specializing in emotional eating. And I wanted to talk about this connection with anxiety and emotional eating because this is a pattern I see coming up with the clients. And it makes sense, but sometimes we don't really see what's going on with our emotional eating. So when I'm working with clients, a lot of the times I can start seeing this connection to their anxiety and their emotional eating, and they might not see that connection. And they might not be fully aware of their anxiety or worry that's happening throughout the day that's contributing to their emotional eating, because sometimes they have anxiety and they are taking medication and then they're still emotionally eating. And so it can be hard to see them connected, even though emotional eating has the word emotional in it. So when we're doing this work together to resolve their emotional eating, we're looking at a few things, because anxiety, if you think about it, anxiety is sort of this discomfort that we're feeling, and it is uncomfortable. And of course, if we don't know what to do with that anxiety, we want to fix it. So if we've had this anxiety and we don't know what to do with it, then we might go to food as a coping mechanism to help us soothe and numb from the discomfort. We might look to food from a young age to help us feel okay because our parents or caregivers weren't able to help us move through this anxiety, this discomfort. And trust me, I see this with clients who obviously they're adults, and if they could have moved through this and they have children, they are not able to show that to their children, and their parents would have been the same way. And so this sense of anxiety, it feels maybe overpowering. There's nothing you can do about it when you don't know what to do. And so as a young child, you tried your best to figure out a way to feel okay. And food is a great sort of outlet for that because it gives you a dopamine hit. It can calm the system. It can numb you out. And it helps to kind of distract you from what you're feeling. And so if you're not able to really be with and move through this, over time, you just start going to food automatically to deal with your anxiety. And so you might sense it throughout the day, but it's not immediate that you're going to food until you reach a threshold. And so sometimes I see this with clients, we have a little thing. It's like we're so used to living with the anxiety, we just let it kind of linger until we see it as emotional eating. And that's probably when our system has just become too overwhelmed that we need to do something. That's usually at the end of the day. I've had clients, this happens as soon as they get home, because it's almost like all of the responsibility or all of the things that they need to look at, it becomes apparent. And so when we're working with this inside of my program, it's important to look at this in a different way, because emotional eating is not just this one thing. So we have to look at this pattern holistically, because if you are an emotional eater, you just can't control food at the surface and think you're doing something. And that's what we see. We see ourselves out of control with food and we want to control food. We see how it's impacting our body and we want to control our body. And we have to go deeper because something else is going on. And that connection with anxiety is not immediate, because our brain is so smart. It has created this automatic pattern that as soon as that sensation arises in our body, it says go to food. And so we might just be stuffing our mouth with so much food and not realizing that it was triggered by this anxiety. And sometimes this happens when we have a lot of quiet or space at the end of the day, when all of these emotions can come up and we're like, I can relax now. Why am I going to food? And this could be a reason, because our emotions finally feel like there's space and you don't have all these distractions of the day to not be aware of them. And this is how you can't necessarily see the connections of the stressors or triggers you've had throughout the day connecting into your emotional eating. And so when I'm working with clients, it's important that we start noticing our emotional eating, if it is emotional hunger or true hunger. And the best way to do that is to really start nourishing your body. Because a lot of the times emotional eaters have these restrictive diet rules and they're restricting food. They might be wanting food and binging on food because they haven't given themselves enough food. They're triggering themselves into shame if they haven't done it the right way for the day. So that could be a trigger as well. But to kind of weed out that, we start nourishing our body so you can start feeling satisfied on a physical level with your meals. You can start optimizing your digestion so you're receiving nutrients. So we can really clearly see that emotional eating and that trigger so that you have more awareness. And a lot of the times I'm seeing this with clients in their food and mood journal, how they're eating, how much they're eating. And it's not about me telling them exactly how much to eat. It's them learning how to feel into their body to know that they're truly hungry so that they can see their emotional eating pattern. And so then we can use a different set of tools to get to the root of that. When we have this pattern, there tends to be anxiety, sometimes around our body image. We get triggered if we're in social situations, we feel judged. And so noticing this happening, if you're out to dinner and all of a sudden you're just like eating all the food, there's some anxiety coming up, but you don't really know what's going on under the surface. Because anxiety can sort of be a cover feeling or emotion, sensation in the body that's like a bit of an agitation. But when you go into it, it could be fear, there could be sadness, there could be all kinds of things under the surface, nervousness, excitement that we want to allow, but we don't know how. And so we feel uncomfortable, we don't know how to move through that emotion, so we use food because our brain says, this is uncomfortable, I need food. And so as we're doing this, part of this is looking at maybe triggers we have around our body, triggers we have around diet mentality. But once we start catching where this pattern is coming from, the anxieties that we have, the fears that we have that are triggering this discomfort in our body, we can start moving through it on a body level, being with that emotion, processing it, and seeing if there's a deeper level of trauma that we need to resolve, getting to the root of it. Sometimes with clients, all they need is to have that space to be with that emotion because they weren't taught how to process emotions and be with them. Sometimes it is a deeper layer of, trauma that we need to get to the root of to get to the other side. But at the end of the day, anxiety is something that is giving you information, especially if it's connected to your emotional eating. And you might not see the connection now, but if you have both, they're connected. And so the food, if you keep emotionally eating, you're covering up the anxiety, and the anxiety is a gateway to learning about what's going on for you so that as you move through it, you can have an aligned action step after. So sometimes it might just be you need to be with sensations in your body and move through them. And sometimes you need to go deeper and process it. And then after, you might be okay just feeling that emotion, or you have a boundary you need to enlist, or you have something else you need to do after. That's going to be important. And this is a way where you are now telling yourself that anxiety is not something that you need to be afraid of. It's not something you need to cope with. It's not something you need to run away from. It's something you need to move through. And that's sort of the biggest lesson I think my clients are learning. A lot of the times when we're emotional eaters, we're raised in homes and even in our society where we don't want to feel discomfort or uncomfortable emotions. We don't feel that way. Come back, you get sent to your room if you feel a certain way. Come back when you're calm and you're ready to talk. So all of these are dismissive messages. And so we don't have that connection and we become afraid of our emotions when they're very natural. We just haven't been taught how to actually move through them, which is an organic process. So as you move through your emotions, so as you do this process, you are relearning a new way of being with yourself, meeting your true needs, not coping, you're meeting your true needs. And that's going to, on the other side, get you to ease and confidence around food and in your body, literally. So you're literally removing the discomfort in your body to get to ease and confidence, shifting your nervous system from fight or flight to rest and digest. And this will impact your relationship to food because now you're meeting your true needs and not using food as a band-aid. So this is how we can use anxiety So this is how anxiety can be pointing us in the direction of our emotional eating trigger and what's going on. So if you want to get started on this process, the first step I always recommend is to start learning to discern true from emotional hunger and catching your triggers. So I have a free guide for that below. You can download it. And if you want to dive in deeper, I'd love to invite you to find out more about the Emotional Eating Evolution Program. This is my 12-week container. It has the step-by-step process. You have a weekly office hours, you have guidance, support, and one-to-one sessions with me to help you get to the root of your emotional eating so that you can get to ease and confidence around food and in your body. So if you want to find out more about that, the link is below. So I just want to say thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, please let me know. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and I look forward to sharing more with you, and I hope you have a great day.